Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. I'm Monica and today I want to talk about 5 reasons of why I decided to retire at 60 and it's kind of reasons and then things that I took into consideration when making my final decision. Now some of these things I've shared in other videos, but I've received several questions from viewers about different things, so I thought I'd kind of consolidate everything into this one video. So the first thing that made me start thinking about it was that although I enjoyed the type of work I was doing, I was not enjoying my actual job anymore. And this is, something that we've probably all experienced, or a big majority of us have, is that, after repeated layoffs, then, for those that remain, there's added work to your responsibilities. And I very much appreciated my job, and I'm not saying anything negative about the company I worked for. It was a good company. It was just due to business and economic circumstances, it's just the way it was. And on top of that, unfortunately, there'd been a freeze on pay increases and everything, again, to those business and economic situations and everything. So there hadn't been any pay increases in a few years as well. So all of those things kind of added up to me starting to think about, being that I'm not enjoying this anymore, is it maybe time to consider retirement? Okay, so, now the other reason, of course, is that like with many of us, you want to retire because you want, your time to be your own. So that was my number 2 reason. I was ready for my time to be my own, to have the freedom to kind of spend my time doing what I wanted to do, pursuing, things that I wanted to pursue, and, just not being on anyone else's timeline or schedule or anything. So, of course, that was the second thing that went into my decision. And then, I also started thinking about my family history. And, of course, none of us know how long we're going to live. So the third thing that, of course, went into my thought process was the fact that, both of my parents passed in their 70s. I do have one set of grandparents that lived to be a bit older, like, in their late 80s, I believe, maybe even 90. But then the other grandparents, I think, passed in their 60s, if I remember correctly. And so, I'm 61 now. And, if I follow the path of my parents, then, who passed in their 70s, I've, maybe potentially got less than 20 years left. So, you never know. I could live to be 100. Who knows? But it went into the thought process. Life is short and everything. And if I can make this work from a financial perspective and all, then why not? Okay. So then, of course, the fourth reason, or fourth thing that went, into my decision was, can I afford this financially? And so what I did is I spoke with my financial advisor, and we started running the numbers. I really scrutinized what I needed my budget to be able to, stay in my home, to be able to live, a comfortable life. And that's how I describe, my retirement. I haven't shared my specific financial numbers on this channel. I'm just, from a safety and security standpoint, with all the scams and people who, may have less than dishonorable intent, or less than honorable intentions, I should say. I just don't share my specific finances. So I ask that you understand that. But I would describe my retirement as comfortable but modest. I do keep myself on a very definite budget. Before I retired, I tracked my spending. I mean, every penny I spent for several months to make sure that I could make it work with the money that I had, and, keep myself on a budget that would make my money last, if I lived to be in my 90s or to 100. And, and I'm continuing to track my spending to make sure that I stay on my budget. And, that's worked out for me. So I've been very fortunate that I'm comfortable with that. And so, I was able to check off that box that, from a financial standpoint, I felt like I could make it work. And, I had a little bit of additional savings set aside to, for emergencies and those unexpected things, that happen. But, basically, like I said, I'm 61, so I don't yet qualify for Social Security. So I am withdrawing from my retirement accounts and, retirement savings and such until I qualify for Social Security, which will be next year. So, and then of course I'll reduce the amount that I'm pulling from my savings and retirement accounts by the amount that I'll be receiving from Social Security, so that again I can extend my retirement savings and everything as long as possible. But of course, that was a huge consideration, is can I even make it work? So then once I checked that box that yes, I think I can make it work from a financial perspective and everything, then the fifth thing I had to take into consideration, of course, is health insurance. Because obviously being 61 years old, I don't yet qualify for Medicare. And so I started looking at various options from that standpoint. Now, I did a separate video on the variety of different health insurance options for retirees who have not yet or who are not yet eligible for Medicare. So I'll try to remember to link that in this video as well. But for me, what I did basically is I continued COBRA coverage with my former employer. Now, I retired in August of 2025, and if you all recall, there was a lot of questions and about what was going to happen with healthcare subsidies and all of these kinds of things, and decisions had not been made. So not knowing what was going to happen and hearing that insurance costs through the marketplace and everything could it double even as to what it had been in the past, I decided to continue COBRA coverage. It is expensive, but in all honesty, when I compared it with what was available in the marketplace, it wasn't that much more expensive. And so I decided to continue my COBRA coverage through the end of 2025. And then again, after kind of comparing the rates and the type of coverage and everything, I actually decided to continue it through 2026 as well. So I am still currently on COBRA insurance, and then starting in 2027, I will need to make other choices like through the marketplace or private insurance or something like that. But for right now, that's what's working for me. I know that won't work for everyone, but again, that's just what's working for me. So once I had those 5 things kind of checked off, the why do I want to retire, the financial aspect, the life is short aspect, and health insurance, I had my decision and I was ready to move forward. So anyway, that's kind of how it all worked out for me. I hope you've found this video interesting and helpful. If you have, please give me a thumbs up. But otherwise, I look forward to seeing you in a future video. Hope you're doing great. Bye.